Hi guys, Nathan Collins here with the discussion board post number 2, and this week we're talking about the advantage and disadvantage of an ILS and an LPV. The ILS standing for Instrument Landing System, which is a ground-based navigational facility, and the LPV is a localizer performance with vertical guidance, and that's based off of a signal from GPS and satellite coverage. So the advantage of an ILS, it's ground-based. That means it's on the field. It's a component that can be worked on, maintained, serviced by a human. It does not rely satellites. So if the transmitter's out of service or it needs to be maintained, it can be easily accessible by a human to go out and fix it and get it back up and running again, so that you can shoot that ILS down to minimums and get home safely. It does provide low minimums. Generally, Category 1 ILS is going to give you 200 feet above the touchdown zone elevation with a half statute mile visibility, which is pretty low. And the last part about the advantage of the ILS, it's simple to use. All you have to do is dial in the correct frequency on the localizer on your approach chart and tune in your HSI or your course on whatever avionics package you have, and tune that into the final approach course, fly it, and that's it. So it doesn't require you to program or sequence or anything. It's just totally raw, I guess in another sense, raw navigation source. The disadvantage of the ILS is that you can have outages. You can have unreliable reception from a certain distance from the localizer. 20 miles out, you're not going to have a really reliable source of tracking that localizer frequency inbound. It can be nodemed out, so you have to check your nodes to make sure that the ILS isn't out of service or a component of the ILS is out of service. You could be flying a localizer. You could be thinking you're flying an ILS perfectly because your localizer is centered up, but you're not getting an indication from the the glide slope bug, which could mean that the glide slope was out of service at that time, giving you a totally unreliable approach and putting you in a really dangerous situation. We'll talk about the GPS LPV approach now. The advantages of that is it's very reliable. Satellite based, it's provides a very simple means of entering into the approach from different fixes and waypoints. You're flying all magenta lines, so it's GPS from the en route to the terminal to the approach mode. And generally, GPS approaches are going to be more accessible at smaller airports. They're obviously way easier to maintain than an ILS system. They're not as expensive, and so if you're going to be going to a smaller airport, you're going to have a better chance of finding a GPS approach there than an ILS approach. The disadvantages of an LPV is obviously the reliability of satellite and GPS coverage. So this is where we want to check our receiver autonomous integrity monitoring, or RAIM, at the time of our arrival at your airport, because if you get into this airport and you start shooting the approach, you could have a total outage of satellite coverage, which could mean that if you're low on fuel and you're really hoping on that approach, you're kind of toast, unless it has an ILS. So just something to think about in the NOTAMs to check to make sure. The minimums, they say 200 to 250 feet. If it is a 250 foot minimum, that could be the difference between seeing the runway environment and having to go missed. So that could be a disadvantage that the ILS has an advantage over the LPV. Anyway, I don't want to go too long. I hope you guys made it all the way through to this video, and I look forward to watching your guys' posts as well.